Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Barcast TV. I think this is going to be the first video in an installment of videos I'm going to call Mastering the Early Game. What we're going to do is just look at the first person perspective of one of these high level players and see exactly what they're doing in the early game to arrive at the mid game, so to speak. So this video we're going to focus on ZLO's point of view, and I'm actually going to stop the analysis or replay when he reaches some arbitrary mass income and energy income. So in this installment, I might change it later, but what we're going to do is end the game or end the analysis when ZLO's reached 20 mass income per tick and 500 mass income per tick. So until that point, we're going to analyze how much build power he has, how he's expanding, where he's building radars, when he's adding on extra power, so, and the movement of the commander. So hopefully this gives y'all some insight on how to play bar and improves your play. I'm going to be doing this mostly for myself, and y'all are welcome to tag along. So without further ado, let's start the replay. Set it to ZLO's camera, and I might choose to pause the replay at some point, so we'll do that as the need arises. So it looks like he goes mass extractor first. And notice the positioning on this mass extractor. You don't have to build it exactly over the mechs. So then we're going to go 2 wind turbines. You can see that the average wind speed this map is 11.5. And the height is B15. So definitely within that window to make wind turbines. As we all know, wind turbines OP. And check out the movement on the commander here. See if I can pause the game real fast. You don't actually have to move within the build range to cap the mechs here. What ZLO is doing is utilizing the maximum build range of his commander to get this mechs built as quickly as possible, and that'll subsequently allow him to develop his economy further more quickly. So definitely good to note. You want to maximize your build range in this game, and games similar to it, Total Annihilation, FAF, Subcom, so on and so forth. So looks like the average wind power has dropped below 10. So instead of adding on additional windmills, ZLO has decided to construct a solar collector, which produces 20 energy per tick, unlike the wind turbine, which just produces the current wind speed. So ZLO doesn't want to stall while he's building this bot lab, so he's going to go ahead and, he's rolling the dice. The wind speed could increase and, normalize, so he doesn't want to risk it. He's just going to get up the solar collector. Start his bot lab. It's going to go grunt first, then construction bot, engineer, grave robber, grunt. So let's actually pause this for a second. Where's the wind and solar? Okay, well, Melorate, if you're watching, I just explained that. I'm sure someone took the time to go over here in the replay, but looks like after this bot lab finished, ZLO's going to add on more wind turbines. And you'll see what that is going to allow him to do is build multiple things at multiple times. So what's going to end up happening here is this bot lab's going to be producing, if I unpause it, it'll actually show the current consumption. But the point I want to make is he's trying to balance his economy as such. His commander is going to be, I'm sure, building additional wind turbines and power. His factory is going to be constructing bots. And he's even going to have construction bots capping these mechs and expanding. So that's why we're adding on even more power here. So did want to comment about how much power this factory is drawing, constructing -7. Yeah, it kind of pops up in this window, drops away. I think I have to deselect the commander actually for this to. Okay, it's -69 power. So while we're constructing the grunt, -69 power, minus the power of this commander constructing the wind turbine, we can see that's -31. That gives us this total negative power income here above the total positive power income. So it needs to balance that out. We can see actually a difference right there. And once again, the average wind speed is dropped below 10. So instead of opting for those initial 5 wind turbines like he initially thought, he's going to go ahead and make another solar plant. It's like he's zooming out, sending his grunt across the map. Okay, ameliorate when risk is 3. Didn't quite get the exact build order here between like bots, engineers, and grave robbers, but we'll see them as they pop out. So we went grunt, engineer, or sorry, construction bot, excuse me. He's gonna cap that last mex here with in his main base and then move it onto the map. And he's continuing to add on wind power, so we can see this difference here, minus 206 to plus 175. And pause the video here, see what he just queued up. So this next engineer, so we went grunt, sorry, I keep calling them engineers, that's from FAF, construction bot. Grunt, construction bot, and he's already queued up the build order he wants for this. So cap these 3 mexes, move to this high ground and build an LLT, light laser tower, got that right. And notice the position here, actually going to be blocking run-bys from this left side. This is definitely deliberately placed. Blocking run-bys from this left side. It's sitting on top of this hill, so it's blocking that avenue. And if an enemy was to come through this path here, that's pretty much directly in line with the output production of your factory. So really, this positioning here, being so far forward, is just blocking these 2 attack avenues, while behind it on this right side is protected just by the nature of production of this factory here. So definitely deliberately placed turret. And then finally, we're going to come down here with our construction bot, cap these 3 mexes, and build an additional turret. Now, I'm sure this build order might change, or this build command might change if he notices some scout, and you have to be willing to react quickly to protect your construction bots if they, start getting harassed. So I'm going to unpause the video here in a second. Just want to double check. We have, so far, we're 2 minutes, 17 seconds into the game. We have 1 grunt made, 2 construction bots, 3, 6, 7 wind turbines, and 2 solar plants. Now, don't get so hung up on this total, what number and what ratio this is. Ideally, on the perfect map, you would want to construct only wind turbines because they're so much more mass efficient than solar collectors. But ZLO was just being a smart commander here, balancing his economy correctly. So, gonna unpause the game. Still haven't reached that threshold of 20 mass income per tick. I think I said 500 energy, but whichever one we hit first. And wow, he just queued up a bunch of reclaim orders there, I think. Not quite sure how he did that. But with this grave robber here, that was quick. I'm not sure how he did that so fast. Looks like he's just reclaiming everything, huh? I wonder if that's like a macro or something. Just reclaim everything on the map with 1 button. Pretty cool command, but maybe I should talk about the intention of this. So with our 5th unit out of this bot lab, Sloves decided to make a grave robber here, the stealthy res reclaim bot. And really the intention is just to start reclaiming what's on the map here. These trees give you energy. So definitely, some maps actually have mass on certain locations. You'll know when you see them. It's like crystals or wreckage or whatnot, but definitely a way to balance your economy, or supplement it, I should say. So I'm going to unpause the game. 2 minutes, 30 seconds in. So looks like we're microing our grunt here. Just checking out, see how far along Ollie is expanded. Hasn't expanded yet, so we're just going to keep this down here. Keep that grunt down there. What it's going to allow you to do is just see what's moving out of the base. Now, maybe I should pause this, and kind of in the spirit of the nature of this replay and what it's designed for is just mastering the early game here. And if microing a grunt on your opponent's side of the map is detracting you from issuing build orders, spending your economy, keeping your metal low, keeping production out of your factories, by all means, you want to be hitting these economic markers and construction orders much more than interacting with your opponent on their side of the map. If doing this is at the cost of not macroing properly as a new player, I would always emphasize you to focus on mastering these macro aspects of the game, because what that's going to allow you to do is, it's like a ticket to the mid game. I think another YouTuber called it that back in FAF. It's just a ticket to the mid game. If you can master these early game concepts, balancing your economy, balancing your production, expanding properly, putting up radar defenses, these few concepts, if you can master those, it's going to let you step into the mid game in the proper position. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. I want to be able to step into the mid game with a balanced economy, good production, protecting my expansions, right? Having map presence, having radar coverage. So it looks like we're adding on grunts here. So we went 2 engineers, 1 res bot, and we've gone grunt, grunt. Just continuing to add grunts, still in our player view. And we started assisting our factory at about 200 energy income. And then we're going to add on even more wind power. So let's pause the game here again. ZLO's decided to add on more energy. Now, this is the natural progression and scaling of your economy. You just want to be adding on energy as the game goes constantly over time. So you just want to be expanding your economy. Either see, and that's exactly, this corresponds with this engineer finishing. So say he steps off this factory and starts assisting it with this construction bot. He's going to need that extra energy to balance his economy, and he's sitting at 50% in the bank. He doesn't want to risk stalling, so just adding on this extra power production to compensate for the extra build power that's about to step onto the map. And notice that we see a red dot here on the radar, instantly reacting, moving these grunts into position to protect the construction bot. So really, over being on your opponent's side of the map, scouting, harassing, seeing what's going on as a new player, just protect your construction bots. Get these mexes up. You want your side of the map protected. Let's take a look and just draw a line. What is your side of the map? Well, for sure it's your main base. We already saw ZLO try and cap these mexes, so for sure that you'd want. And then I would argue even here, these mexes here is your side of the map. You want a radar on this tower, you want a radar on this plateau, and just put 1, 2 turrets. And let's see if ZLO makes these turrets. Turret over here, protect this lane. And I think that's about it for what I would call your side of the map. Ideally, you would want to be harassing this plateau, denying your opponents, and then focusing on taking this plateau here. I'd call that kind of naturally your plateau, just because it's in line with the production from your factory. For factories producing units coming out onto this low ground here from the main base, keep adding labels. Naturally, your units are going to be pouring onto the map. Keep adding those clicks, sorry. Units are going to be pouring through these choke points here onto the map. So, to my point, what's your side of the map? What's your half of the map? It's what you want to be expanding towards and the mexes you want to be capping and protecting. So we're still at 11 mass per tick. Don't want to pause the game just yet. So it takes out that run by, doesn't lose a mex. Really valuable. This extra engineer comes on the battlefield. Let's see what he does with it. Aha, see, he's capping these mexes here. Adding some turrets. Okay, let's pause the game. Take a look at what he built. Pause the game. Goes turret, protect this run by avenue here. Radar, and then multiple turrets. So this is going to, just like how we were, talking, he wants to protect his plateau from run bys. And in turn, we want to be harassing our opponent's plateau and denying it. So just what this mid game is going to be like, These are the moves you're going to be making, and these are the steps in the early game you want to master or complete before you can start interacting with your opponent. So let's go back to our player view, unpause the game. You have another grave robber out on the map. I'm sure he's going to... And these are so useful once reclaim fields start developing on the map for, reclaiming the mass, putting that into our economy. I'm going to pause the game here just fast. Notice that ZLO's adding an energy converter. So we have a basic, and that's right about, let's call it, I didn't see exactly when he put this down, but let's call it 300 power income. ZLO's putting down his first energy converter. Sorry, I thought this was power storage, but actually curious to know why he put this down with this commander. He must have had some excess power income, so just want to get this mass converter started, energy converter, sorry. Get that extra economy, and you have another construction bot stepping off the factory, and looks like he's just assisting it. So just adding build power to his factory. How many construction bots is that so far? 1, 2, 3, 4. Made about 2, 4, 6, 7 grunts. 2 grave robbers. You know, I'm not sure about the math on these. I mean, you can take a look at how much this is actually, how much they cost to produce, and how much kind of passive economy they're giving you before these battles start happening, and you can start using them to reclaim and res bots. So let's take a look here. Pause the game again. So we have 1 construction turret up. I did not mark the timing of that. Didn't notice it, but I'll just make a comment about the total mass here. Look how balanced this is. We have no mass in the bank, minus 16, plus 15. So that's, you know, he's not going to run out of mass immediately, but as soon as he ran out of mass in the bank and has a balanced economy, ZLO moves out with his commander, and I'm not sure if, you know, that's exactly what triggered him to start constructing these. If not, he just wants to step out onto the low ground. I'm sure he's going to move down into this position and start capping these mexes, putting up radar towers and turrets to protect this lane from attack. But let me clear this map. Definitely something to note. As soon as you've put all your starting mass onto the board, so to speak, I feel like that's a decent time to start moving out with your commander, because this has the most build power, I think, actually of any unit, but specifically in the early game, all of your build power is tied up in this commander. So if you want to spend your mass, your starting mass, while expanding as quickly as possible, I guess the idea is putting this mass on the board as fast as possible. Once that happens, you can step out with your commander and start expanding with that. So I guess one thing to note is you do want to be able to protect your main base still, and we can see he has a radar up here. He has a forward turret here, so no run-bys are going to be, you know, coming. He's not in any immediate danger of run-bys, but if you do choose to step out with your commander, it's got a big gun and can control units this early on in the game. Definitely want to make sure you can still protect your main base, because, I mean, a run-by at this point, you lose a couple mexes and some wind turbines, that's not a good spot to be in. You know, I'll pause again. So continuing to add on grunts, we're at, what is that, 4 engineers, 1 construction turret, 15 mass income, 200 energy income. See, check out the movement on this commander. Look like ZLO's making a tidal generator in that water. That's interesting. I think he's noticing he's kind of stalling on energy, so why not put the build power into a tidal generator here that has some decent power output, I should say. And take a look at these unit movements here. ZLO had 1 grunt protecting this far engineer, but definitely vulnerable to this run by now. And ooh, great movement. Notice how he runs it into the corner here. Great job saving that engineer. You do not want to spend that time. And I guess I can remark on how important it actually is to protect your expanding engineers. I mean, we can talk about one of the extra resources in RTS games that people don't necessarily consider would be the timing aspect of it all. You know, you need to make the time it takes to make this construction bot, and the time it takes it to walk to this position is the time, say, if he lost it was, you know, he could have had these mexes already capped and already producing, so you're denying this economy to your opponent. And that's just kind of what you want to be shooting for at all points in this kind of game. It's, you know, targeting those economy is going to let you outproduce your opponent over a long period of time. So if you have a bigger economy than your opponent, you might, and are able to get that mass onto the battlefield, you're in a better position to win. So ZLO was not afraid to cancel his build order and run away his engineer. So I think I should pause the game here just for a second. We're at 16. We're getting close to the timing, right? Plus 20 mass income is when I'd say I'd start the game. Might run a little bit past just to see if, you know, where he puts a radar here and if ZLO chooses to make turrets here. But let's take a note of the total economy versus the total build power. So we have 2 expanding engineers. Our commander's expanding on the map. And we have 1 construction turret and 4 construction bots assisting our bot lab. And we're producing, not sure why that menu isn't staying up. Looks like grunts, grave robbers, and engineers out of our bot lab. So you have a pack of grunts here on the left side, but yeah, stay on. We are going to be adding on this economy here too. So we're getting close to, you know, stopping the replay. One of these mexes is going to push us over 20 mass income per tick. You know, and even though we're at half economy, ZLO's adding on wind turbines here in his main base. I got that, you know, plus 20 mass, plus 350 power income. So trying to go for a run bar. That's cute. We have these dragon's teeth built around this metal extractor. I'm sure we're going to see more dragon's teeth used as the game kind of develops, but so I'm going to pause the game. We're right at 25 mass income. In spirit of you know, just mastering the early game, mastering your open. We're going to pause the video and maybe just end it here. We have 2 expanding engineers. We have grunts on the both sides of each map. Just have 1 radar tower so far protecting our main base. We have 1 turret here protecting these run bys, and that allows us to occupy these spaces with our grunts. We have this run by location denied. Ideally, we'd have some kind of radar tower. I'm sure ZLO is going to make one very soon, another radar tower, but really we're protecting these extreme flanks of the left and right, and we have our grunts positioned kind of in these middle lanes, protecting run bys to our main base. Because like, what's more important? Is it these expanding engineers, or is it protecting our main base? And I would argue it's protecting the main base still at this point in the game. You don't want to be losing build power economy to a run by that you can spot easily and deny. So that's what ZLO has, you know, reflecting in the position of his grunts here. And just protecting his commander, I'm sure, too. So I think I might unpause the game here just real quick and see where he chooses to add, if any, radars with his commander here shortly. So I just want to note the position on this map specifically. So let's unpause the video, take a look. Continuing to make grunts. Continuing to assist this build power. Denying that plateau with his grunts there, so interesting position. Haha. So let's end it here. Looks like ZLO, 25 mass per tick, we'll call it. Reclaimed his, and 500 mass in the bank, reclaimed his bot factory, and could start and just immediately goes to tech 2. So this is pretty cool to see. We have 1 construction turret, 5 construction bots in the main base, so we have all this build power. That's what kind of this trigger. I'm sure it was an economic trigger that ZLO chose to start this tech 2, right? So he had the mass income, he had the mass in the bank, he had the energy income, and he's got the build power. So he had those 3 things: mass, energy, and build power to move on to tech 2. And note the timings: about 25 mass income plus 400 energy income. So I'm sure it's different for different players. We'll do more of these casts in the future, but I just wanted to get this one out there for you new players. It's, you know, mastering the early game. Good luck, Commanders. See y'all in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, you want to see more of it, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd like to know what kind of videos y'all want to see. So if you leave a comment on what you want casted, I'm definitely open to suggestions. So thank you all for your comments. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.